watch a stream. Well, you go tell it to mommy. She'll pat your head and give you some Kool-Aid and some Rice Krispie treats. Oh my goodness, you can do better than that. Why? I'm not kidding. We've had the worst troll. We like having the kinder care of trolls. Come on, guys, step up your game. Really? Hey, Northwest Patriot, I'm north of you. I'm in your general region. How you doing? I'm glad you found us. How'd you find us? How did you find us? Lamest ever for sure, Jensen and Heidi. Karen noticed you? I thought you were Karen. That's what you call panic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is. But anyway, saying thanks to everybody. Anybody new out there, such as Northwest Patriot? Oh, you found us scrolling through Twitch? Really? Well, I'm glad you found us. Very cool. Yeah, I think you're going to like it here. We were on YouTube until they kicked us off because they didn't like what we were saying. Yeah. So, yeah, no censorship there. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, yeah, I think you're going to like it. My favorite, I love Rice Krispie treats. I can eat a whole bowl of them. That's why I don't make them. Plus, I'm keto. I love Heidi. Everyone you watch has been kicked off? Yeah. We were part of that big purge they had about a month ago. They cleaned out Red Pill 78. They're all gone. Yeah, we were part of that. Surprised you hadn't heard of us before because we were pretty big. But we're not going away. We're still, and most of the others aren't either. Oh, there's Paul Revere. I thought I saw him out of the corner of my eye. He's fading in and out of the dark. I see Thumper's back. That's true, DRL. Hi there, Red Rob. How are you?
Yeah, I am.
He's back. Yep, Twitch is back up. All righty, well, I'll hand it off to you guys. And Paul, you and Thumper both have a great night and have a good show. I'll be tuning in.
All right. Yeah, it looks like he's trying to save on the electric bill there, I think.
I don't know. He's outside, I think.
Or he's in the car.
In the car.
Oh, are you?
I'm watching the watchers. Chris, thanks for your show.
Okay, I'm going to put a link to that video that we just played out there for you guys, and make it viral. Take this thing viral, guys. Share it out there because it needs to go viral. This is time to declare war on these commie bastards who are stealing our freedom and our state, and tell them to put it where the sun don't shine, and then we are going to put them where the sun don't shine. As you can tell, I'm just a little bit fired up about this because I put a lot of hard work into that campaign, and to have it stolen from us, no, and no, it ain't going to happen. And we got some fighters in this game.
Well, I just had a family member, Thumper, tell me I couldn't visit them because they were paranoid about catching the old Kung Flu virus. And I didn't reply to them, but it was kind of interesting. I felt like they were treating me as a leper because I had been traveled, and they were like, well, and we heard you don't wear your mask, and it's like, well, I'm not sick. I don't plan on getting sick, and I take a crap load of zinc, so, I take care of myself. I'm fit, I'm healthy, so why would I be worried? Maybe you need to get fit and healthy, and then you won't worry so much.
Well, Chris in the video, he just made the comment that Lauren Culp shook hands with thousands of people and nobody on his team got COVID. The whole team was out amongst people all the time, never got COVID. So and that's out there meeting everybody from all over the state. And people are terrified of getting something that is just the flu. They're afraid of getting the flu.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, were they terrified to get the flu before? Now it's the Kung flu. Are they really super terrified now because all of a sudden, for what unknown reason, the flu would have killed just as many?
Yeah.
It makes zero sense.
Well, it's killed more. The regular flu has killed more. It's a psyop on people, and it's working because some people are terrified, and that terror really makes. It's just like there's all the stress of the election crap and the flu and the lockdowns and the loss of money and businesses and how are you going to pay your property taxes? How are you going to pay your mortgage? All this stuff is done on purpose to traumatize the people to the highest extent to make them more susceptible to getting sick. Stress is terrible. It's disgusting.
Fear-based psychological warfare.
Exactly. And it's working for some people. Now, people like you and me, we're more logically minded. For everybody here, we're here because it's like, no, we don't buy that. It's like we're more thinking like, wait a minute, something's not adding up. But other people they let that emotion of fear take over. And that's all it's everything to them. And they're terrified. And you see them in their cars wearing masks. I see them out. I live out in the woods practically, and they're wearing masks outside walking by themselves. It's like, oh, and their kids doing it. It's like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I'll let you guys go. I agree. Anyway.
Okay. I took the link to the Facebook page, but this last link that I'm putting out there is it should take you directly to that video. Try it. Somebody try that link. And let me know if it takes you directly to the video. All right. So let me know if this link works better for you guys. All right, Crimson Steel. Thank you very much. Good link, works. All right, thank you. So copy that link and share it around. It'll take you to that video. If anything, that video will fire you up. It'll fire up anybody that that gets it.
Hey, Dumper, how are you? You look pretty dapper these days. You looking like you had some real moments of clarity in you.
It's kind of interesting. This past week has been what can I say? Weird dreams, really, really off the wall, weird dreams. And also Connie, my dog, she has had several seizures this past week. Like one day she had 2 seizures. They're not as intense as they used to be. And then yesterday and last night, she was all kinds of weird and frantic and everything. And then this morning, things, she kind of calmed down quite a bit. And today she's actually been sleeping and calm. And if you look at the news today and the things that have been going on, there's like there's a new energy. There's a different energy that's right now.
Yeah, I see that fire in your voice too. But on the dog thing, I just want to mention that I was reading a while back that if during the seizure times are correlated to the sun, and if you can get like a 3-day window ahead on the KP index, what you do is when that KP index starts to signal you take your dog or anyone who's got a seizure and you go down to the beach or somewhere where there's water and you get your feet or their feet in the water, and apparently the grounding actually prevents some of the seizures because people are doing this. People are actually taking their significant other out during those times, and it helps them not seizure as much, which I find pretty interesting. So maybe try that with Connie when you if you can correlate with the sun a little bit, the KP index.
It's kind of funny because she goes down into she was for a while there waiting when the weather was nicer, in the because I've got a pond, it's a landscape pond, but it's got a little waterfall in it and everything. But there's one little shallow part in it, and she would actually go down there and stand in it. And I wonder if she figured it out before we did. She was doing really well there. And then all of a sudden, this whole thing. By the way, Chris, is it your birthday? I can't hear you.
Tomorrow. I have a Q birthday, 17th.
Okay. You know what I do to people on their birthdays, right?
What do you do?
I sing you a happy birthday.
Oh, I thought you were going to take me to outer space.
Well, I'll tell you what, because I probably won't talk to you tomorrow.
Why don't you take her to dinner, Thumper?
You can't, because we live in Washington. You can't go to dinner.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Well, you can put a picnic together. Take her out for a picnic.
We kept. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be 20.
To you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Chris, my good friend. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
And many more.
Thank you. Everybody's saying happy birthday. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate that.
It's only an hour early, so, it works.
That's the first birthday song I got sang to me this year. That was very nice. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Chris.
You have a wonderful birthday. Are you going to do anything? You're not coming to town or anything, are you? Or
I was going to, but they shut everything down. So it's like, I don't know if I want to deal with it.
I didn't go out today because I was too pissed off, because I know if somebody would have, sir, you can't come in here, I was going to wring their neck for even just considering they listened to the freaking governor.
You're in a mood. Well, what Chris said. Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at a couple other Facebook pages, and it looks like a lot of people are going, not only no, but hell no.
Yeah.
Try relocating when the banks are closed and the real estate companies won't open their doors. It's a real bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, people are dumb. It's stupid.
Nobody wants to help you because they don't want anything to do with anybody. It's really sick. It's sick and twisted.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just, it's a farce. It's a total scam what they're doing. And the rant I had earlier in the night, that's why they're doing it. The whole thing, that's why they're doing it. So it's just to get people it's the communist takeover, and they have to do that. They have to get you poor and get you so you don't have a business, you don't have customers because they can't work, they don't have any money. That's the whole thing. That's what they're doing, is breaking the back of America.
Oh yeah.
Makes me mad.
No.
Anyway,
I'm ready to fire up the engines and on a couple of things. One is this show. We got to get it started. And secondly, kicking Inslee out of the governor's mansion and getting our man Lauren in that office.
Amen.
And then cleaning out the rest of the rabble that call themselves either Democrats or Republicans, but are really commie assholes to begin. They're spineless, creepy asses, and we need to. Come on, Washington State, get on the wagon, get on board. We got to get let's take our state back. All right.
In honor of Victor, he started a phrase: "Hold the line."
Yeah.
We all need to hold the line.
Not only hold the line, push it back. Push them back. Push them back. No, we're not defense. This is offense. This is offense.
All
right, kids.
I see that, Thumper. I see it.
Good night, Chris, and you have a wonderful birthday.
Thank you. I will. And read Kissland's post out there in Twitch.
Spokane girl here, and everyone I know voted for Culp and Joshua Freed. And you mean to tell me Josh got 0 votes? Fraud. I do TikTok for Republicans, and boy, the libs love to cry and try to fight. And all I do is laugh because in the end, they spread my messages. There you go, Kissland. Absolutely fantastic. All right. Well, kids, if you would please now board the TR3B. We will slight delay there for a few rants and some information there. So please board the aircraft. Bring all your gear with you. If you would please stow it in the overhead racks or underneath the seats where it will be secure during takeoff. And once we reach our destination, you will be free to get up and move around the cabin. The moon will be on the left side of the aircraft tonight. So if you're on the right side, I guess you're just SOL. Those of you on the right side, wave at the moon as we go by. It'll only be there for a few seconds because we're kicking ass and taking names because this is hyperdrive. Buckle up. Here we go. We have arrived at our destination. You are free to get up and move around the cabin. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the journey tonight. All right, kids, we're there. Feel any different? Oh, my. Well, it looks like we're not going to have Vector showing up with us tonight. By the way, Paul, do you have any reason why he's not be able to make it tonight? Something come up or what?
Not that I know of. I was tried to get in touch with him a bit today, but he didn't respond. So he'd obviously have a great reason not to. So let's just pray for him a bit and see how we connect with him at another point.
Yeah, well, I hope everything is fine. He is in a place where they're under great pressure down there. I know that.
Yeah, after living in Australia for 7 years, I was warned about it, but it's not like America where you have your freedoms and your rights. Mm-hmm. In so many ways, they would treat you more like a cattle than a human being. So that, like, if it's really interesting, the legal recourse down there. So like, they would sooner treat you like crap, throw you in jail, and then go, well, you're just a piece of crap, and then afterward they don't really do anything. Like, they commute all the sentences pretty much. It's really weird. It's just almost like, we would just want to treat you bad and poorly and then let you off the hook.
The whole idea is the public perception, and that is, you slap them around a little bit lightly. And what the neighbors see is, oh man, I don't want to go through that. So what do you think they do? They acquiesce. I don't have time for putting up with that crap, So I'll just fly low. And it's mild suppression. It's the first stage of mind control and domination. I read a very interesting article on that the other day where it speaks to that specifically, and but that's how you start out the soft way. Then you turn it up as it goes forward, and
yeah, like they have license plate readers over there in the cop cars. Mm-hmm. Just as speaking from experience, so we were driving down the road. And my ex-girlfriend was driving the car, registered to me. We turn a corner. We didn't do anything wrong. The cop pulls us over, and I'm like, well, why are we pulled over? We didn't do anything wrong. And he's like, well, he goes, your license expired. I'm like, my license expired. She's driving. It's pretty hard to it's not very difficult to tell that she's got long hair and I've got short hair when you can see from your fucking cop car that I'm not driving. And I gave him all holy hell, and he's like, well, and it's like, apparently, if you ask Australians, some of the ones who know, they're not allowed to do what he did, but they do it anyway. So, and they read your license plate to see if your driver's license expires. It's pretty crazy. You're on mute, Thumper.
Your driver's license is tied to the car.
Yeah, apparently your whole everything you do is tied to your license plates. Yeah.
Well, they do have a lot of cross-referencing. As they'll tell you in the state of Washington that your concealed carry permit is not it's not in the system. But I know for a fact from my cop buddies that when they pull you over, if you are the registered owner of the vehicle, if you have a concealed carry permit, they know that when they walk up to the car.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
one of those things they just, it's and that boils it down to, you go out and you get a concealed carry permit. Well, you've just registered yourself as a gun owner, most likely. Who gets a gun, a concealed carry permit if they don't have a gun? So you've just identified yourself as a gun owner.
Right.
All right. So, it's just another form of gun registration.
Well,
oops, Paul locked up there for a second. Hopefully he will unlock and not get zonked out of the meeting here. So we'll wait for him. You're
okay.
back.
Yeah, I'm back. So we were told when we got out of the service that we were supposed to register in every town that we went to, and I don't know anybody that has or would. I wouldn't.
For what?
Because they considered us dangerous, so they told us that we had to register in every town as a weapon, even though we don't physically have any weapons on us. But that's weird. What I was told when I got out. I was
never told that.
I mean, well, Semper Fi, I guess. but they. So I'm kind of curious, if I registered that way, would I not have to register concealed carry, because it's kind of pointless to register concealed carry if you're considered a threat without a weapon, correct?
Well, I suppose, yeah.
So once you register yourself as your body as a deadly weapon, wouldn't you not need to be registered in any other way, is what I'm getting at. I mean, it's just kind of I think there's kind of a little gray loophole there.
There's all kinds of loopholes out there. Okay. Well, let's kind of dive into some of the stuff I've got set aside for this evening. I've got a couple of stories here, and then we'll kind of dive into the main topic for the show. This particular and Legacy of QAnon says, Thumper, my Facebook got hacked. Not good. Let's see here. Thank you for that, Turtle Dove. Good. Appreciate that. Yeah, I've never told them I had a concealed carry permit. I got pulled over this past summer, and one guy came up on the passenger side, the other guy came up on the driver's side, and I'm sitting there in my rig. I've got culp signs all over the car and a trailer with culp signs in it, and they were assholes. Whatever.
Yeah, so it's quite obvious you're doing political work and they're being dicks to you, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not fucking cool. That should be almost considered political harassment.
Well, I was flying at low altitude. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, but we still have to broach that, I mean,
yeah.
If you can handle certain things and other people can't, I mean, why should we be restricted? I've said this before. Why be restricted when
out in the middle of a very long straight stretch on a long, very, very straight, boring road? Yeah, and I was making good time. But no, whatever.
Yeah.
I got home. I sent the money, and said, fine, whatever.
Oh, so they did write you up then.
Oh yeah. He gave me a ticket. No big deal. It'll all come out in the wash. All right. This story here from Fox News: the launch of the Resilience spacecraft is the culmination of 4 years of renewal leadership in space. Our administration recognized what the American people have known for more than a half a century, that our security, our prosperity, and our very way of life depend on American leadership, including American leadership in space. But past administrations lacked the clarity of purpose and the conviction that propelled the United States to be a vanguard of space exploration. Elon Musk sidelined from historic SpaceX launch by COVID-19. When we took office, okay, and this is some remarks that were put out there by Vice President Pence at the launch of this spacecraft. So he's saying when we took office, yeah, great, yeah.
Oh, I just want to add that you can't assume that those other administrations were negligent. I think they've got it more correct here, that they didn't have conviction, but more on top of it, I think it was an obvious sellout. You know, I mean, that's what they're missing in here. That they're not saying it, but it shouldn't be danced around that they've sold out. Let's just call it for what it is.
Yeah. Ricky Ross in the chat out here says, Thumper watches this chat. We are truly blessed to have our Thumper and dangerous weapon, Paul. I love it. Oh, that's great. Dangerous weapon, Paul. So, Paul, that's your new nickname.
It's kind of funny.
DWP, Dangerous Weapon Paul.
Well, maybe I've moved into healing and let's see, being a weapon of online destruction.
There you go. Okay, so continuing on. When we took office, the United States had not sent an American astronaut beyond low Earth orbit in 45 years. Our mission to the moon was treated as a triumph to be remembered but not repeated. Across the board, our space program suffered from apathy and neglect. From the very beginning, President Trump took action. He revived the National Space Council after it had been dormant for 25 years. We brought together the best minds in and out of government to revive the American space enterprise. At the president's direction, we put an end to decades of budget cuts and drift in NASA's mission. In our first year in office, President Trump signed Space Policy Directive 1, making it the national policy of the United States of America to return to the moon, continue to Mars, and ensure that the next man and the first woman to set foot on the moon would be American astronauts. SPD 1 marked a watershed moment in America's space enterprise. President Trump finally gave NASA the clear direction and clear mission that it needed. As he said, we will return American astronauts to the moon for the first time since 1972 for long-term exploration and use. Close quote. Not only to, in quote, plant our flag and leave our footprint, close quote, but we will go there to, in quote, establish a foundation for an eventual mission to Mars, close quote. The president's ambitious vision has led our nation into space farther and faster than ever before. And unlike the last few administrations, we've had the budgets to match it. With the strong bipartisan support of leaders in Congress, President Trump signed into law the largest NASA budget since the days of the Apollo program. Under President Trump, we've been removing out-of-date regulations to unleash America's pioneering space companies and forge the technologies to blaze new trails into space and create American jobs for the future. We've restored confidence in the opportunities of space and helped drive incredible economic growth. Studies show that the space industry will actually generate more than $1 trillion in revenue annually in the next 2 decades. Finally, we are leading in space for the security of the American people. As nations around the world increase their investment in space, this president took the decisive step to ensure that America remains as dominant in space as we are on land, in the air, and at sea. For the first time in more than 70 years, we established a new branch of our armed forces, the United States Space Force. It's for the theme song. America has always been a nation of restless pioneers, ever striving to explore uncharted territories, reach new horizons, and venture into the unknown to expand the boundaries of human knowledge. Together, we've summoned the courage to dream bigger, to work harder, and we've gone forward with the same confidence of trailblazers who came before us. With Sunday night's launch of the Resilience and her courageous crew, NASA is back, and President Trump has secured American leadership in human space exploration for decades to come. Godspeed, Resilience. And that was the name of the ship that got launched up on Sunday, I guess. So, very interesting.
Resilience leads to redemption.
There you go. How interesting, huh? Next on my stack of stuff here to just kind of go over here tonight, mysterious radio signal is coming from inside our galaxy, scientists announce. Mysterious, intense blasts of radio energy have been detected from within our own galaxy, astronomers have said. Fast radio bursts, or FRBs, last only a fraction of a second, yet they can be 100 million times more powerful than the sun. Despite their intensity, their origin remains largely unknown. Now, astronomers have been able to observe a fast radio burst in our own Milky Way for the first time ever. As well as being closer than any FRB ever detected before, they could finally help solve the mystery of where they come from. Scientists have had trouble tracking down the origin of such blasts because they are so short, unpredictable, and originate far away. It is clear that they must be formed in some of the most extreme conditions possible in the universe, with suggested explanations including everything from dying stars to alien technology. The bursts of radio energy appear to have come from a magnetar, or a star with a very powerful magnetic field. The scientists who discovered the new FRBs said they were able to confirm that the blast would look like the other, more distant FRBs if it was observed from outside of our own galaxy, suggesting that at least some of the other blasts could be formed by similar objects elsewhere too. There's this great mystery as to what would produce these great outbursts of energy, which until now we've seen coming from halfway across the universe, said Kiyoshi Mausi, assistant.
Oh, they know. It's DGCVN. They know. 2012 DGCVN was 100,000 times the largest X solar flare in the from our sun. So multiply that times 100,000. It's 30 light years away, and they've got it. They've seen it. So how are they saying that they don't know? Like, this is just, I've actually read this article before. What's the date on this, Thumper?
This was actually earlier this year.
Yeah,
it came out earlier this year.
There was actually 3 other articles that went along with this.
But this is the first time I'm seeing it. So, but a lot of this is part of disclosure, I think.
Yes.
You disclose it slowly at first, and then, getting people used to seeing this kind of stuff. And
most people have never even heard of a fast radio burst. So
I've heard of them before. Yeah.
We're accomplishing something just with mentioning it.
Yeah. So Kiyoshi Mausi, assistant professor of physics at MIT, who led the team's analysis of the FRB's brightness, in quotes, "This is the first time we've been able to tie one of these exotic fast radio bursts to a single astrophysical object," close quote. The detection began on 27 April when researchers using 2 space telescopes picked up multiple X-ray and gamma-ray emissions coming from a magnetar at the other end of our galaxy. The next day, researchers used two North American telescopes to observe that patch of the sky and picked up the blast that came to be known as FRB 200428. As well as being the first FRB from the Milky Way and the first to be associated with a magnetar, The blast is the first to send out emissions other than radio waves. The research is described in 3 papers published in the Journal Nature today, and relied on data taken from telescopes around the world with an international team of scientists using observations taken from equipment in Canada, the US, China, and space. FRBs were first discovered in 2007, immediately prompting a flurry of speculation on what could be able to cause such intense blasts of energy. Magnetars have emerged as the most likely candidate, especially given theoretical work that suggests their magnetic fields could work like engines driving the powerful blasts. To test that, astronomers have attempted to place the origin of the bursts within as small parts of the sky as possible. In theory, that should allow them to associate them with known objects in space and look for associations between the bursts of radio energy and other astronomical phenomena. Now, considering, that we are, typically you try to get triangulation, all right? But triangulation in space from our one little globe has to be extremely precise because of the distances involved. All right, you can't have 2 space telescopes or whatever they're at trying to determine the strength of a signal, because you need the further, like maybe from the moon, if we were able to triangulate from the moon and Earth and maybe Mars, then you would have a much more accurate triangulation. But trying to triangulate from this small little speck, respectively, when you're talking about the distances, makes the triangulation just that much more difficult. But if the secret space force is out there, I'm sure they know exactly where it came from. They probably
so above there at the very top it says, especially given theoretical work that suggests their magnetic fields could work like engines and driving the powerful blasts. I think this is an important aspect that we need to discuss. Mm-hmm. The Earth is kind of like a gyroscope, okay? And all planets, it all works like the same kind of thing, almost like a rotary engine. So you get the electrical charge from the outside and the fuel that's on the inside, and then it sparks, which creates the energy on the inside to keep spinning. That's the wheel that's inside the wheel that's inside the wheel, which is the energy that's inside us. It's inside the planet. It's inside pretty much everything. But I like how they described it as an engine, because and it makes me think, kind of interesting, makes me think of how these people who made engines, like gasoline engines and stuff, what were they thinking? They must have known some serious stuff. They must have correlated a lot of different things in order to figure that out. Mm-hmm. and harness that knowledge. I almost think some of them were getting divine messages themselves. Anyway.
Well, quite possible.
Continue.
Quite possible. Okay. Continuing on here, we calculated that at such intense bursts coming from another galaxy would be indistinguishable from the fast radio bursts. So this really gives weight to the theory suggesting that magnetars could be behind at least some FRBs, said Pragya Chawla, one of the co-authors on the study and a senior PhD student in the physics department at McGill. The new findings may still not explain all of the known FRBs, given the large gaps in energetics and activity between the brightest and the most active FRB sources and what is observed for magnetars. Perhaps younger, more energetic and active magnetars are needed to explain all FRB observations, said Paul Schatz from the Dunlap Institute of Astronomy and Astrophysics at the University of Toronto. If the FRB can be proven to have come from a magnetar, many mysteries still remain. astronomers will need to look for the mechanism that allows the magnetar to power an FRB, looking, for instance, to understand how it could send out such bright, unusual bursts of energy and X-ray emissions at the same time. So, we've got these fast radio bursts, popping off around the universe. And now I guess we have one that has been identified coming from our own galaxy.
Did you click on that link that Vector put in the chat? Holy cats. The first one on top. Put that up on screen.
Vector put in the chat. Where?
In the Zoom chat.
On Zoom chat? Is Vector in the house?
Vector's in the house, man.
Oh, I didn't know Vector had joined it. There he is.
I'm in the house. How are you? Welcome. How are you going?
Did you bring a note? Did you bring a note from your doctor explaining why you're late tonight, there, young man?
Take him to the woodshed.
My internet is unreliable, and there was a storm here. There was a storm here just then, so we're happy for the rain.
He's got to pick up trash tonight. He's got to pick up trash tonight.
Information on flux. Information flux on the topology of the torus.
That's the second one. I think the first one Paul's talking about. That's good too. That links in.
Okay, let me click on this one here. Linking the Fibonacci sequence and the chromatic scale with Rodin maths.
And musical scales as well. Remember that we're talking about a scalar universe, like steps.
Oh yeah.
So we're talking. It's it just jumps to the next level. This is how this works.
Oh yeah.
And we were talking about this, and I have this on my wall, and I've been studying it carefully, but I haven't seen this yet. So this is going to help me to link in all the things that we've been talking about with respect to language and the Assisian codes and all of that kind of standardization. And that fits in beautifully with this. So whoever came up with this is brilliant. I only saw it today.
By the way, did you see the link that I dropped for you there in the Discord?
Not yet, but I will quickly. So hang on. I got something from Paul here, huge solar blast inbound 30 hours. So that was interesting, especially since we're talking about solar flares and EMPs. So that's kind of interesting. But
yeah, I did you get my note on that, Paul?
Yeah, I did. I just
several other of my space weather sites, and nobody else was even talking about it.
Did anybody go to the link he had? Was it?
I went to it. It was a link onto the Chans, and I watched it, and from the looks of it, we were going to get a glancing blow. But all of my space weather sites, and I've got several of them. Suspicious Observers is one. He does a space report. Sun's report.
Also, Ben didn't mention it then.
Ben didn't say a thing about it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe
that was a little odd.
Maybe it's faux news.
When that came out, that was at the peak of what I think we've been going through the last few days, and that is. There was a tremendous amount of trying to work people's fears up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it did kind of correlate with that Trump meeting, that emergency Trump meeting, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, but it was, in that piece there though, it's a very glancing blow. We dodged a bullet. Based on that, but usually Ben will talk about those things, even if it, he'll say something like, "We dodged a bullet, this thing, but we're just going to get a glancing blow off of this, residual side effects maybe from and that. The only thing that we may realize from it is an increase in solar winds from it." And so, yeah, but I was really surprised when I went over to suspicious observers and Ben didn't say anything about it.
And the interesting thing about one of the things I noticed about the thing that we've got up here on this Rodin Maths chromatic scale, that they've got the square. It's not the magic square, but I think they're just getting so close. They just need to replace it with the magic square, and we'd probably have some more highlights coming to bear.
Mm-hmm. So, Vector, you want to kind of explain what we're looking at here, and clue our audience into how this is going to save the universe. No, I'm kidding.
Let's have a look at that square that Paul talked about. It's a mini magic square, so it manifests 6 all the way. So if we can just zoom that up a bit, and I've just done this in my head now and checked it, and I'm almost at 99.99% certain that I'm correct. So if we add 1, 2, and 3, the top line, we get 6. We add 4 and 5, we get 9, and 6 is 15. 5 and 1 is 6. We get 7 and 8 is 15. 1 and 5 is 6, and 6 and 9 is 15, which again is 6. And adding from the top to the bottom, 1 and 4 is 5. 5 and 7 is 12, pardon me, and which is 3. So that's going down that way. And then we have 2 and 8 is 10, and 5 is 16. Or 15, pardon me. So that's 6 again. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. And 9 and 6 is, of course, 15. And so we get 3, 18, and that's 9. So we got 3, 6, and 9 going vertically. And we have 6 and 6 and 6 going horizontally. But if we look at diagonally, it's also 6 as well, because say we go diagonally, 9 and 1 is 10, and 5 is 15, 5 and 1 is 6, and 7 and 3 is 10, and 5 is 15, and 5 and 1 is 6. So either way, we're getting 6 diagonally, and we're getting 6 horizontally, but we're getting 3, 6, and 9 vertically. Sorry about the errors there. I'm so tired.
Okay.
Do you see that in the magic square, though?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about there. So, 1 and 2 is 3. 3 and 3 is 6. 4 and 5 is 9. Plus 6 is 15. 1, and you add the 1 and the 5, you get a 6. And then
something I'm seeing now that this is blown up. The 4 circles that are around the square, right? You've got chromatic, positive, and negative, and then you've got the funny one that has the all the triangles or diamonds in that. And there's a triangulation spot in the center of the circle, right, with the highlighted sun kind of thing. That's your triangulation. Those are your holes through your space-time. That's your dimensional travel. Your chromatic is your light. Your chromatic is how the cell walls are formed. This is cellular structure. You got the positive and the negative neutron, and proton, and so this. I didn't see this at first until he told you to blow up the square, and then all of a sudden it popped into me. I'm like, whoa! So we've got the 3 circles that look like separate from the other circle. Okay, so you sort of have the divine trinity there, right? So you've got the 3 and the 1, and the 1 is the dimensional aspect of things, which ends up being God. Yeah, that's how I see it, and God's work.
Explain to the people what we're actually, in general terms, to somebody who's doesn't really understand. Right now they see 4 circles with numbers and letters at specific points around, and then we have this square. So kind of explain in general terms, trying to bring people into the conversation here, what this is representing. What are we supposed to take away from this?
Just leaving out the positive and negative at the moment, and the chromatic circles, and the larger circle to the left, which is expressing it both in the positive and the negative. And I just gave a brief explanation of the magic square there, where it's 6 across when you use root math all the way down, and it's also 6 when you do diagonals. So diagonals and horizontal, like across, you're also getting 6 that way when you do the root math. But the only way you're not getting the 6, and the 3, 6, and 9 is expressing itself in
but
that.
Explain the point of why you're getting the 6. What importance is that? What does that mean? Explain the meaning.
It's part of the physical world, and it's part of when it's like splitting off from the 9 and becoming the 3. So every time you're seeing a 6, you're also seeing an esoteric 3. And 3, 6 is a 6, 6, 6, and this whole box is 6, 6, 6. Again, top line adds to 6, and yeah. Sorry.
What do we do with that? Do we build widgets? Do we build wonkies?
It's showing you energy flow, and just going back to Thumper, the circle on the top right hand side, we have 9 dots around the circle. So one draws a circle, and one puts 9 equal dots all the way around. So the energy flow would start from the center point that you were looking at there, the singularity, and it goes up to 1 and expresses itself as the 1, and the 1 splits itself into the 2, even though this is a doubling sequence, but this is happening in reverse as well. So I think that diagram is only half of the diagram. It should be happening the other way as well. So when I have this drawn on my wall, I've got it drawn the other way as well. So I'm showing positive and the negative flow. So anyway, we have 1 and 1 is 2. And so we would draw a line from the number 1 on the circle to the number 2, because we're in a doubling sequence at the moment. And then 2 and 2 is 4. So we would draw the line from the number 2 to the number 4 in the doubling sequence. 4 and 4 is 8. So we would draw a line to the 8. And that takes us there. 8 and 8 is 16. So where's the 16? Remember, we're following our root math, just like we did in the magic square there. So we would add 1 and 6, a very important number because it equals 7. So we would draw our number down to 7. And then, of course, 16 and 16 is 32, and 3 and 2 is 5. And we would draw ourselves down to 5. And so that connects us, back into the cycle. And as this is happening, there's an ebb and flow, both positively and negatively, between the 3, 6, and the 9. The 9 is the master number here that controls all of it. It is the conductor. So as the 9 splits itself, both positively and negatively, depending on which direction things are going. So when it's itself, it's 9, it's positive, and when it's pushing down the 6 and the 3, the 9 becomes a negative, and the 6 and the 3 become positive. And as the 6 and the 3 push back the energy back to the 9, as it oscillates around in the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 oscillation matrix system, that which is the physical world, you have the non-physical world, energetic world, oscillating between the 3, 6, and the 9. But it's actually the 3 and the 6 that are pushing. It's splitting itself from the 9. And then we've also, and it's becoming a negative. Then we also have the negative becoming a positive and splitting itself in an opposite direction, which you can't see because that diagram hasn't been drawn, overlaid on top of that as a mirror, which is what people really should be doing. And then inside there, the singularity is created, and that's your vortex and your wormhole.
I need a quick reference of the Masonic symbol, the Mason's symbol of the compass.
And the set square.
I'm sorry?
And the set square.
Yeah.
Can you, Vector, tell us the importance in a general sense of 369 and how that portrays into? I know you just did in a complex sentence, but in paragraphs. But what I'm getting at is, I think Thumper wants like an explanation of why 369 are different, and how that correlates to the Fibonacci sequence? Because it does, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and that's something that requires a lot more information for me to post here, which is probably at this point, without like prior notice, a bit hard for me to completely present, because I want to do it exactly right. So
Yeah,
I found this diagram today, and I'm still putting together how this fits in, because I've been waiting for this last piece that connects sound and color in particular to this process and this symbol here, because I know that energetically everything's flowing this way. So we're seeing manifestations in the physical world through the doubling process of the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, and the 3, 6, 9 are so special energetically. They represent the non-physical world, the etheric world, and they're the pieces that you need to harness so that you can generate your free 0 point energy and your zero gravity, and you're able to levitate your stones, that kind of stuff. So the ancients understood this, so they were able to arrange certain elements in certain ways and charge them so that they would be able to create vortices, enabling them to levitate all kinds of stuff and build all the things that we now seem like they're impossible, even cutting these things.
That's why they love the pyramid, correct? And Tesla was talking of 369 quite a bit, was he not?
Absolutely. So, and he said, if you understand frequency, vibration, and 3, 6, and 9, then you'll understand and unlock the secrets of the universe. So it is quite complex, and it's nice to watch some of these Marco Rodin videos and have a look at how this breaks down just so basically, and then they put it together visually for you so that you can see it, because a lot of people are visual learners. So it's fine to see things theoretically and study the numbers and how they connect to letters, because we haven't even got started to that. How this connects to all of that Assisian code stuff. Because when I saw this particular diagram, I was like, right, yep, that's the bit that I've been missing. So
I want to ask a quick question. It's kind of a topic slide, but it kind of goes into, was there 3 cornerstones or 4 cornerstones in the Bible, or in the storyline?
There are 4. There are 4. That's like that, and that's why a lot of the flat Earth people say, we talk about the 4 corners of the Earth.
Okay, so the 4 cornerstones I figured out are faith, hope, love, and compassion. That's the true message Jesus wanted to tell everyone. Those are the 4 cornerstones, and they correlate to mind, body, soul, and I don't know the 4th one.
And funny that the 5th element is the Christ. It's just like that movie, The 5th Element, where they show you exactly what's going on, and you see all the Egyptian symbolism and storyline, and the Anunnaki robot aliens that come in, and they're the custodians of the information, and then you see the supreme being come, the 5th element, which is a female in this course. In this case, Mila Kunis, I think her name is, the actress. Big Boom, Bada Boom, that one. So that was a great movie with Bruce Willis, and there was a 5th element, and they talked about the 4 elements in the movie, earth, fire, wind, and water. And then, of course, the 5th element was the supreme being with tightly packed genetic material in the movie, and they're telling you what's going on. So this is somebody that's got like a lot more DNA. So what are they telling us in the movie? Remember, movies tell us the message of what they're doing, and they need to tell us these things. So that's a very interesting thing.
When you said that,
it's witchcraft. When we're talking about 5 elements, Paul, this is what we're talking about.
When you said that, all of a sudden my brain looked at this, and I'm now seeing in these circles the spirals of DNA, and these are the sequences. The dots on the side are the sequences that are attached to the spirals as you're looking down into the strand from the top, from the bird's eye view.
Correctamundo. That's exactly right, Paul. And when we're also looking at the top, like this is generated because the energy is flowing and spiraling through, and it's going through the DNA like a harmonic resonance. It's got a certain shape because it's supposed to make a certain sound, and that's how the energy manifests itself. And this is electromagnetic energy, where everything else, all the atoms, coalesce around that shape. So if that shape isn't right and your DNA is then tainted, then you're going to get cancers and everything's going to grow incorrectly.
And so the one on the far upper right corner, that is the communication field. So the way the resonant chamber works on the DNA strand, as you're looking down, from what Vector described, how it travels, he's telling you the communication, the cross communication electromagnetic field that's created is in this sequence of those diamond shapes, and that's how it's bouncing back and forth. And we're both under the impression that this is happening on the quantum realm. Are we not, Vector?
Yeah, and you're looking at a cross section. Yes. And notice how that dot on the right hand diagram, it's not in the middle. And there's a lot of argument with that and people disputing things. So one needs to understand that the singularity is created between two of those, because you need to have that entire diagram reversed. So you're thinking about there's a -9 down the bottom, vertically opposite to where the 9 is positively at the top. So every time you're thinking about positive and negative, there's the opposite of that. There's the mirror, and you must overlay those two things. And that's part of this that no one else has done.
It's also the cross. If you look at it, if you turn those diamonds just sideways, you could actually see the tilted cross on each angle, which is, and then you have the full circle on the outside, which we're back.
And do you notice there's three Paul? There's three perfect. Those diamonds there. That's full fire right there. If you have a look and you study those shapes, they're perfect as far as pi and phi and the Fibonacci sequence goes. And you can overlay manifesting the Fibonacci sequence all around that. It's good. I've seen other people do it. So now what I need to do is I need to go back and find all of the other bits and pieces of information and put it together. So I will draw all these diagrams personally, and I'll go back and see what other people have done and overlay them and see where all the points fit in, because there is a language here. It's beautiful. And then I'll tie in all of that Assisian code stuff, because every one of these numbers and every one of these angles corresponds to letters and words and sounds and colors. It's standardized. Fabulous.
This is wild. There's only one perfect triangle in there, and the rest are all the the three diamonds, which is
that's correct.
The trinity attached to one perfect triangle.
And I reckon if you stretch them, you're going to get like perfect cubes, But we're looking at them on an angle, from my perspective.
Yeah, so because you could turn it on its side and look from the side view instead.
If I change my perspective, they're perfect rectangles. They're golden rectangles. That's what I mean when I say that.
Now, are you saying golden rectangles or golden squares? Because if you
have a look at the like parallelograms at the moment. We're talking about the three in the middle that form that. So if you were to change your perspective and move to, say, the left or the right, either way, and have a look at it from that perspective, then it almost looks like you're looking at a lattice, and if you're looking, all you need is to change the perspective angle.
Okay, saying this is a flat plane, and if you were at 90 degrees to it, those would most likely be perfect squares. And the smaller, where each diamond would be a perfect square, and then you would have a perfect rectangle as well. If you go from 9 down to this point, down to the 5, up to this intersection between 6.
And there's 4 of them. There's one going from right to left, and the other one's left to right.
Right.
Oh, there is.
We're looking at how many golden rectangles there are here.
Wait, stop. Dumper's onto something. If you look at those 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th one on top, Those are the fold over for the cube, are they not? If you actually like origamied them, you could actually fold them all into a box. No.
Correctamundo.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Shit. I have to cut it out on paper. That's how I can prove this stuff. Just cut it out on a piece of paper. It seems retarded, but it's better than any scientist is going to do. Just cut it out and make it out of a piece of cardboard, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
No. Perfect. And it's all about the perspective, isn't it? And they say that, and it depends on the stars that you see, and you're on the Earth. That you're only seeing those particular constellations because that's the perspective that you're seeing it from, because you're on Earth, and it depends where on Earth you are, which constellations you see. I'm in Australia, so we see the Southern Cross, and it's on our flags, and that sort of thing.
Right.
So, and people have them tattooed on themselves and all kinds of stuff like that.
Well, and in the northern hemisphere, we have Polaris, or the North Star.
Yes, correct.
And
there you go. And we both had the auroras.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that may not necessarily 100% be just from sun activity, and it also may be from energy that's emanating from the poles. Like, people don't understand, there are holes at the poles. It's hollow all the way through from top to bottom, and this is what Admiral Byrd was talking about when he undertook Operation High Jump and took a full combat fleet down there, and they had their asses handed to them by flying saucers coming out of the sea, and they went back, and he spoke about it, and this is part of it. And he was also part of Operation Wormwood, I think it was, in Greenland. They probably have nuclear facilities there. It was very interesting that Trump went there. So you need to watch Greenland. They need to control the poles. And Admiral Byrd said that if there was going to be another invasion or an attack on the US, it was going to come from the poles, because they knew that there's all sorts of civilizations inside the Earth. And yes, I know it's controversial and people are going to think that I'm crazy, and I don't care. There's too much information. There's too much under the ground. And we're not just talking about deep underground military bases and other facilities connected by maglev or 500 kilometer an hour train systems and dummy submarines, nuclear submarines, connecting all of these facilities. Continuation of government ties into this. The secret space program. Our enemies are under the ground. It says this in the Bible. You've got to have a look. Sure, it may speak in parables, but it's spot on. The Bible's the most tested book in the history of the world over 6,000 years. Even if they say that it's been written by people, well, it lines up perfectly, and none of it can be disputed. Nothing.
By the way,
sorry.
I just wanted who let the bulls out over here in the Twitch chat. It says Thumper always says, "Get your mind out of the box." No, I said, my statement is throw the freaking box away. Okay, don't think outside the box, because that implies that you're standing in the box. No, throw the box away. Do not constrain yourself with walls and boxes and that kind of crap. Throw it away. Open up.
Paul, what is the box? What shape is the box in precisely? It's a cube, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And a cube is what? A dice.
Yes.
The dice is the game of life. We have the 1 and the 6 opposite to each other. So when you see a 6, you see a 1. When you see a 1, you see a 6 inherently, because they code each other, esoterically speaking. When we're talking about the 2 dice in the game of life, this is not a game, or shall we play a game? This is the game. Think of craps. You've gone to Las Vegas. You've lost a shitload of money. I know I have. Playing craps, it's a fabulous game. If you get snake eyes, you lose your money. Snake eyes is the 1 and 1. The 11, it's pi. Have a look at the symbol. Just doesn't have the little thing on the top. But it represents the creator splitting itself. The duality of the universe. When we're talking about the game of life, we're talking about the cube. Now, this particular cube, like let's say, remember we've talked about this, when you have 11 on top of 66, as it says in Genesis, God decrees that Satan 66 will crawl in his belly, because like the 2 6s on the dice are touching the table and the 2 1s are on the top, the snake eyes, right? When you have the 66 and over God high and the 2 1s are on the bottom, then, you know, you're representing 666. How is 666 66? Because 6 times 6 is 36. And the way the Satanists represent things is 36 is 3 6s. There's your 666. Remember the Las Vegas shooting? The Harvest Festival, Route 66.
Mm-hmm.
All done specifically at a Y in front of a pyramid, and, you know, all of that representation from Egypt. It was a ritual sacrifice on top of everything else. But if we're going back to the dice, this is my point here. If you have a single dice, you are thinking outside the box. When you unfold the dice, so if you were to make this out of a piece of paper, for instance, then it would be a cross. So you'd have a square at the top, a square in the middle, a square to the left and the right, and 2 squares equally going down. There's your cross. So thinking outside the box is thinking about Jesus. All of these rabbit holes lead you back to Jesus Christ, which is why I'm such a firm, devout believer in our Lord.
Mm-hmm.
All the geometry fits in, all the gematria fits in, because all of this geometry and gematria fit together. It's concentric numbering, concentric language based on 11. So you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Am I being sacrilegious by telling everybody to throw away the box?
Get rid of it. I have a behaviorist friend that does this thing called the horse, the ladder, and the box. And it's like a full head behaviors thing, and it's great. I wish I could remember it at the moment, and I'll make sure that I get it for next time. But it's all about the box, and they tell you what do you see? You know, what kind of box are you? You're a box. What color is the box? You know, the box is brown, and all this kind of stuff. And my friend's name is Steve, and he's Canadian. He's a great guy. He's totally out there, like most intelligent guy I know. And he talks about, you know, the box, and he's always pulling this on girls that he meets because he loves this. He's a real ladies man. He can pick up anyone. They're walking down the street, you're having a cigarette. Oh, I like your shoes. I like your hat. 5 minutes later, we're talking about the box and the horse and the ladder, and Steve's got their phone number. So this guy's fantastic. But I've got to teach you this, definitely. Sorry to digress a little bit there.
No, but I did want to mention that when you said it all, that is where I'm at too, Vector, that it all ends up leading back to Christ, the cross, and resurrection, and it's uncanny. Like, it's totally uncanny that all this stuff ties into religiously, and every aspect you're turned back religiously, and it's like, wait, we're talking about secrets of the universe, and it all turns back to God, basically, does it not?
And there's no getting out of it. And the Masons know this, and they're hiding this. They do all kinds of mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
To prove this otherwise, but they know.
It leads back to the Creator. What makes the universe click properly? Okay.
Well, the grand architect. The Masons believe in the grand architect.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever this grand architect is, I'm not necessarily sure that it's God. So when you join them, they require you to believe in a higher power. You need to believe in some kind of God, whether you're Jewish, you can be Muslim. It doesn't matter what religion you are. Once you join the Brotherhood, then you swear secrecy to them, and, you know, especially the people above you. And no matter what they do, you have to remain quiet about it upon, you know, pain of death. So a lot of the people in the government that are supposed to have sworn to their country, especially in the United States, oath keepers, they're not keeping their oaths, and they've actually secret oaths, which is what JFK talked about, which is what Trump hasn't done, and that's why I think it was Newt Gingrich or someone was saying, yeah, he hasn't done the secret handshakes, and Trump kept going on about, this is what I kept thinking about during the coronavirus. He goes, I was never big on the handshakes, you know, but you know, a lot of people want to shake hands. So yeah, you know, we want to shake hands, but now we've got COVID, so we're not doing the handshake thing anymore. But I was never really big on handshakes anyway. So what's Trump saying now? Who gives a fuck about handshakes? You know, at the end of the day, he's talking about secret handshakes that they have in Masonic secret societies. That's the secret message that he's talking about when he's saying that. He's saying that I'm not a Mason, you know, but I understand what they're about. That's what he's saying when he's talking about handshakes. Because a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. So I had this insight yesterday because this has been gnawing on me for a really long time. And I just wanted to share that. All of this stuff is hidden. Everything is hidden. This relates to sound harmonics in particular. And when we have a look at water or, you know, crystal snowflakes, or, you know, we're talking about things that are created from sound essentially. And, you know, we compare those cymatic shapes. So we're talking about cymatics and the things that are on the Roslyn Chapel. All those Freemasons know that those particular shapes are somatic shapes that are particular frequencies for moving stones, for opening portals, for burning things, for whatever it is that these things do. So this is like full mastery of the elements from an alchemical perspective. And when we read other books like Manly P. Hall's The Teachings of All Ages and other articles, I'll post another one here, which is very interesting tonight. Then, you know, we see how they've used all of this symbolism, encoded language to enact all of the shit that they're going to do with their New World Order over all of this time, because the public has been too brainwashed and unable to see what's been going on, because in the old days they would have come out and they would have fought against this, because they would have seen and understood the symbolism. But because it's been done in such a covert way and so insidiously, the totalitarian tiptoe over such a long period of time, then that's the way that the public have been able to be subverted. And remember that the modern society is much different to older societies, and we've got all the mod cons, and it's easy to subvert and manipulate people. Now, how does this tie into all this geometry, the gematria, the sounds? It's all standardized. This is not me making this up and reading tea leaves. This is a science. This is a language, the hyperlanguage. They know it back to front, upside down and sideways, and they do not teach it to us. What you learn at school is rubbish. They teach you just enough, and like the smartest kids, they make sure that they pick those people out and they groom those particular people to go into, you know, industry and whatever, and your bloodline certainly counts, and, you know, your dad is. But other than that, yeah, like at school, they even changed the whole curriculum around the world to this common core. It doesn't make any sense. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to calculate something and get the exact same answer, and it's a beautiful thing. But no, you've got to actually do it like this or you don't pass. And then you go to university and it's just a liberal hotbed of rubbish. And unless you're doing maybe science and maths and physics and stuff like that, and you know, accounting and business, because most people, lefties, they don't like doing that sort of stuff. Too many numbers. It's a little bit too hard. I went to uni and did chemistry. I did a bridging course. I didn't really need to do it, but I thought, yeah, I'll go do this after I'd already learned all of the languages that I needed to learn. And I didn't meet anyone there that I liked. And I spent 6 months at this place, and I came second, you know, in my class. It was fun, but it was a bit of a waste of time, because I learned more doing my own research on the internet, and I wouldn't have had to pay any money, and I wouldn't have had to go to a place where they're trying to brainwash you, generally speaking. One of the main things that I've talked about this that you learn when you study chemistry is you not just study the stoichiometry and, you know, the language of chemistry, but you need to learn the crystallography. You need to learn how the structure of the molecules come together. So they coalesce in hexagons, you know, 5 and 6 formations. So you have a 6, the hexagon, you have 5, a pentagon, and generally they form together. And all of these things have different molecules coming off them, whether they're spinning to the left or the right. And these things fit into the receptors in your body and in your brain like a key, so that when you take LSD or whatever, it fits in like a key and turns the key and opens up the floodgates of your pineal gland, for instance.
All right. Okay. I'm going to go to something else here because something that you have just been talking about is kind of interesting here. it might be able to help folks to kind of draw what you're putting out here, draw it together.
This is gonna blow Vector's mind. I read most of this.
Proof of design. Let me enlarge this just a wee bit for everybody.
Is that the link that you sent me that I'm looking at here? The one? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. As has been revealed, an intelligent design of creation does exist. It has a specific purpose. It is dirt, simple, is infinitely powerful, and based on only a few simple rules. By the design, every aspect of creation is by order of rule, and every aspect has a specific role to play. The rendering of the intelligent design, as revealed, is in the most simplistic yet comprehensive form yet presented in front of creation. The design is able to produce creative result without limit. To recap, the core components of the modus operandi are formulated through a program of geometric interactions called cubistics. At heart of cubistics is the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity is not a Father, Son, and Holy Ghost as you are being taught. It is a fully consecrated family principle of Father, Mother, and only begotten Son/daughter, as above, so below. The persona of the Father is Alpha. The persona of the Mother is Omega. And the persona of their only begotten Son/daughter is Christ. The term creators is usually taken to be Alpha and Omega together, Father and Mother, which you currently call God. Creation is the will, desire, and action of Alpha and Omega to expand themselves within themselves according to rule. Okay? The intelligent design backbones on the family principle in a fundamental way. The attribute of the Father is intelligence. The attribute of Mother is substance. The attribute of the only begotten Son/daughter is energy. Creation comprises only consciously caused outer manifestations of their intelligence, energy, and substance under the guidance, direction, and protection of their Holy Trinity self.
Thumper, I just want to read a disclaimer to all the hardcore Christians out there. We're reading this. We're not like telling you have to believe this. Okay, this is the disclaimer. You do not have to believe what you choose not to believe. We're reading this. Relax. Go get a drink of nice chamomile tea. Have a good time. Enjoy the show with us.
Yeah. Okay. If ask yourself, what if, as this is being presented? Okay, just what if, and then see if you can. Okay, it's like picking up that piece of the jigsaw puzzle and going, okay, what if it fits? Oh no, it doesn't fit there. What if it fits over here? What and see if there is a place where it fits. Okay.
I got one what if. What if the Bible wasn't the only book that we read?
Yeah. Okay. We'll save that for another discussion because there's a whole discussion there. Their intelligent design is continuously brought forward in a scaffolding of lower and lower frequencies called dimensions, which Alpha and Omega established within themselves in preparation. The dimensions are 18 to 1. Their Holy Trinity self comprises the entirety of their 15th dimension. Their Holy Trinity self is completely unmaterialized. Their creator outer body self, known as creation, is their 13th dimension and is totally materialized. The whole of their 14th dimension is their created interface self called the cube and the sphere of Alpha and Omega. The cube and the sphere interfaces between their unmaterialized frequencies in their 15th dimension and above, and their materialized frequencies in their 13th dimension and below. The intelligent design of creation has recently found proof in a number of startling ways at Earth's common third dimensional level. We are in what they call third density. You may have heard that. Third dimension, third density. As discussed in Stargram 4, a core component is the geometric principle called a qubit. Qubits are like building blocks, similar to Lego pieces that can make many things. A collection of qubits ordered according to rule is called a cubistic matrix. Bicubistic matrices, all of the outer creation has been blueprinted and expressed. Like a
Hold on a second. Oh, yeah. I missed something because I tabbed away, but at the top you see they talk about the intelligent breath and the tiny particles that are caused entropically.
Mm-hmm.
This is the experience I experienced when I died. So when you die, you go to either two places, a place of light or a place of darkness. The place of darkness lies beside God. And all the things that they're talking about in that top sentence, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Are from an experience of death. So this person has obviously passed over and come crossed again. They wouldn't know this unless they have. So this is and well, you can call it an NDE or a DE, death experience. This is how they've come across the information that this person's writing upon. I want that to be put into context of while we're reading this. That's all.
Okay. So I missed this part of the reading here. Their 18th dimensional self is called the Great Even Pool of Darkness. The Great Even Pool of Darkness comprises only intelligent breath and tiny particles of substance. The breath and the tiny particles are causelessly entropic, falling ever lower and lower in frequency towards an eventual ultimate absolute cessation of existence. The purpose of Alpha and Omega's intelligent design is to convert their original uncaused entropic 18th dimensional frequencies of intelligent breath and tiny particles of substance into everlasting caused non-entropic expressions of intelligence, energy, and substance manifestations called creation. The best way I can kind of express this, excuse me, Paul, let me,
okay, sorry.
The best way I can try to express this is, at some point, things will just, without, lack of a better way to put it, just slow down. The frequency will become less and less and less and less and less until it just is there no more. And that is the cessation that you're talking about. So, by combining the intelligent breath and the tiny particles and the energy that is caused, that is a result of creation. You bring all of that together to create a non-entropic expression of intelligence, and so you have intelligence, energy, and substance manifestations. It's the creation. It's the part that creates. And that's the whole, one of the cornerstones of what I talk about almost incessantly, at least one or two couple of times a week. And that is, creation is, it creates, it brings energy to, whereas destruction creates devastation to the point where energy stops. And so when you're talking about the idea of Luciferianism and that, the whole point of what we're talking about here is if you use these things, if you understand the numbers in that chart that we were looking at earlier, and if you understand the geometric pattern and its relation to creation, and how if you try to twist it, reverse it, it doesn't work. You end up, you might come up with something that will last a couple of thousand years, but then it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Whereas God's creation is and that is the part where it's intelligent, and that is the part where you get the numbers and the geometric shapes that you will find are as in pi. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on, meaning, it's it doesn't stop. It's eternal.
So it got me to think at the very end, it says substance manifests called creation. I wrote something and it's very simple. I create, therefore I am. Okay, so I create. So we create, right? Mm-hmm. So you think about this in a mild terms is free will. Thumper's talking about free will. Slaves don't create. Slaves just do as they're told. They do their thing, and they don't have time to create. So if you want to be free, create something, make something beautiful. That's freedom. That's free will.
That is free will. It creates.
That's I mean, you can see it in our today, our compressed environment that we're living in today. People are least likely to create. They're least likely to move about. They're least likely to travel. They're least likely to do the things that freedom and free will have associated with it. So I challenge everybody in these tough times to create something beautiful.
Mm-hmm. The dimensions are 18:1. Okay, I read that part already. The intelligent design of creation has recently found proof in a number of startling ways at Earth's common third-dimensional level. As discussed in Stargram 4, a core component is the geometric principle called the qubit. Qubits are like building blocks, similar to Lego pieces, that can make many things. And collection of qubits ordered according to rule is called cubistic matrix. By cubistic matrices, all of the outer creation has been blueprinted and expressed like a blueprint. Cubistic matrices hold all of the information needed to produce a creation at the planning stage, and like a roadmap afterward, depicts all of the basic principles of the creation when completed. The design has shown up in the third dimension in a number of interesting ways. Okay. One of the things that, when you go to create, okay, if you create using the rules, the sacred geometry, those things that, we're talking about here, you are going to have the most successful creations. If you go against the rules, then you're going to create something that, the Bible refers to as an aberration. Okay. That's just my opinion, by the way. And let's see here. The design has shown up in the third dimension in a number of interesting ways. Figure 1 below, taken from figure 82 in Stargram 7 and rotated 90 degrees, is the cubistic matrix depicting the 7 dimensions of the outer creation. Figure 82 was brought down, as is, in the winter of 2002 as part and parcel of the intelligent design of creation, as discussed in Stargram 7. Each distinct little yellow hexagon part of the figure is called a cubit. Also, as also discussed in Step by Step in Stargram 5, in any cubistic representation, the red circles represents the presence of intelligence. The yellow hexagonal cubes represents the presence of substance. The straight Y factor blue lines represent the outer presence of energy, and the crisscrossing blue lines extend out of the Y factors, extending out of the Y factors, represent the presence of the radiating action of energy. And the white crisscrossing lines of the stars of David represent the presence of the inner radiating action of energy. Similarly, as further explained in Stargram 5, any thick representation of the color means the particular attribute is in normal presence. A thin representation means it is diminished. By this ruling, for example, in figure 1 below, in the second outermost ring of cubits, substance yellow is diminished while intelligence red and the Y factor energies blue are in normal attribution. Okay, well, now what he's describing here are these. Now, Paul or Vector, can you kind of take what I read there and maybe describe this this geometric pattern here?
This is the sacred geometry, the flower of life starting, but it's been extended further out. So and it forms concentric rings. So we can start it off. We have the seed of life, the flower of life, the fruit of life. When we extend it out this far, so we can have a look at it in a male or female perspective. When we're looking at straight lines, we're looking at the male. And you can have a look at it in 3 dimensions. It's a lattice. We're looking at a 3-dimensional cube.
Okay, when you're talking a cube, okay, here, look here. If you go down here, from this corner down to here, or wait, to here, back up to this corner, down here, you can actually see the cube. Okay.
That's right. And notice how
there's two cubes. There's one inside the other.
Yeah, and there are cubes within cubes.
Yeah.
And you've kind of it's one of these things where you got to kind of train your eye to kind of look for these. Look for the
and it's Metatron's cube. That's what we're talking about. And we can manifest and overlay that entanglement that we talked about last time. The female lines, when we draw the circle and the next circle, and where they connect is the center point for the next one, and around and around.
And if you notice, I think Paul was getting ready to point this out. This line and this line are blue for this section of the top of the cube, and this line are yellow. And what did we say? The yellow represented male and the blue represented the female, or one is energy and the other one is substance, right?
And we also have like electricity and magnetism working together, because they're different manifestations of the same thing, just male and female form. So when we're looking at something like this, there's always the straight male form, there's always the female as well. Have a look at, okay, we've got cubes within cubes here, but just have a look at the concentric rings that are formed. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, you've got
Going out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 rings that are represented in like an orange color here. I don't see a 6th ring represented.
But you can extend if you keep going around, like if you get your protractor and you have a piece of paper and you're looking at all the points that connect properly, you're probably going to find that it pushes out to 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
And notice then you can also extend the lines that come off. You see the bits on the outside, those blue lines.
These.
You can manifest anything. You can do the 4 or the 5, draw a circle, draw 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, go right up and just connect all of those with lines and then extend them out further and have a look at what you get. And this is giving you a simple manifestation of geometry of a number and how it looks physically on a piece of paper. And then one can imagine, or even on a computer, generate 3-dimensional views of that, which is always important. So every time you see something in 2 dimensions, that's not the case. It's always in 3 dimensions or it's a cross section. So what are we looking at? A cross section from the top.
Now let me ask you a question, okay? Now this is represented to us in what we would call 3 dimensions, right?
Sure.
Okay. How would this look in 4 dimensions or 5 dimensions, 6 dimensions?
Well, when we're talking about 4 dimensions, we're talking about including the dimension of time, and we're talking about 5th dimensionally. I mean, are we talking about purely geometrically here? Because then you can model that. I can show you videos that manifest in motion, in moving, all of this stuff going, from the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th dimension. That's not what I just sent you, by the way, and what I put in the chat. That's something else.
Yeah, but he that would be a good perspective to start with, is the Metatron Cube video that you.
Absolutely, and I think that it's really important to show that, like that's critically important. Not only when I've been drawing this for a long time, but when I started looking at the guy that had put that particular video together, that made a lot of sense. And I showed many people.
After I showed my kids that video for like 10 days straight, they were counting to 200,000 on their own with the abacus.
I had it on the television for weeks, just going over and over the whole playlist of those videos to music. And everyone that came in was just like, whoa. Right? Yeah. Reprograms your mind. It helps to make those connections that you need so that you can think at a high level in a 5th dimensional sense, So we're talking about all the physical, the 3-dimensional, time, your 4th dimensional, and, looking at things from a much higher perspective. And that's what Q teaches us as well. He's teaching us to mirror things. That's where this beautiful language comes in, and we can have a look at all the geometry and how it connects and how that connects to sounds and music and the somatics. And I don't know how much information is in those Q posts, but there's a lot.
That's the top one thumper that says ONZX. YouTube ONZX. That's the top video. It's only like 3 or 4 minutes, and man, that thing. The first time I saw it, I was like, "What? Are you serious?" It's definitely worth the yeah.
Okay. Well, let's reprogram some minds. No. Are you guys ready to be reprogrammed? Reprogramming in process.
Oh yeah. Before you hit play, you see. Oh, you see the.
Hang on. I'm just getting it framed up here.
I was gonna say, yep. You can see the those
snizzy face.
Those purpley blue spheres. That's what Gene and I have been talking about. You see them on the ends?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Those are the dimension doorways that add the energy that aren't really there. Like technically you can't see them, you can't feel them, you can't touch them, but they're there.
Okay.
And from a chemistry perspective, those points, I draw those with those circles around them, which is really interesting. And they are where your carbon atoms are, and you got your electrons coming off that. So if we're looking at how this is structured, if we're looking at the structure of a molecule, remember it's all energy. But I just wanted to point that out to people so that they're tying in how geometry, chemistry, sound, color, numbers, and letters all fuse together.
So is it important that you watch the video at the same time? This has a soundtrack to it, correct?
Yeah, but I wouldn't put that soundtrack on. I think it's terrible. I like to put on other stuff. I put on dance music and other things.
That's funny. I like it.
All right.
Well, it's a personal choice.
Okay. To move things along, we're going to play the video. Okay, let's go.
A fundamental element of human nature is the need for creative work, for free creation without the arbitrary limiting effects of coercive institutions. That a decent society should maximize the possibilities for this fundamental human characteristic to be realized.
wanted to say something real quick. If you notice the ever presence of the singularity in the center, and that it always starts with the spiral and the spider web, that are the keys to the whole thing.
And did you see the Fibonacci spiral there? Did you see that fire spiral?
Yeah.
Like there's 6 of them in there. It's like perfectly expressed, and when each one of those particular parts of the system is expressed and completed geometrically, then the next one starts. And when you complete the circle, then you get the next energetic level. So you go to the next levels from a scalar perspective. This next one with the Taurus is probably the best, besides that last one, that I've ever seen. This is fantastic. If you want to see a double Taurus moving in every angle, this is your huckleberry right here.
All right, here we go. Now that was fun. Okay, let's go to the third one here. And that will conclude tonight's light show. Wow. All I can say is absolutely amazing. And you say by watching these, you know, and others like them repeatedly, will do what?
Watching them repeatedly over and over, and also drawing the sacred geometry by hand with a compass and a ruler on a piece of paper. It makes you much better at doing it, but it's going to reprogram your brain. Your brain is going to hurt a little bit at first, but that's actually the neurons, the new neural pathways forming, and it's part of your awakening. It's part of the fifth dimensional thought process that you're learning to undertake, because without doing this sort of light work, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's going to be harder to do stage 2, which is all of the language work, where we analyze how all of that geometry and the flow of energy links to numbers and all of the angles being angels, and all of course being numbers and angles corresponding and being fused to letters, words, which also have corresponding meanings. There's the double meanings, the mirrors of things, all the fabulous anagrams and palindromes. This is we're just getting started here. The reason why we're probably starting a bit slow is because it's people that they won't be able to like follow along, and it won't be as fun.
Yeah. Well, what I found very interesting is it's something that I had, you know, when I joined the Navy, and I had to take you know, the MEPS test, the, you know, ASVAB tests and all that other stuff. And then I took a few others after that. And one of the areas that I really enjoyed was the one where they give you like a solid design, like we would see in there, and then they would say, okay, which one of these is this? You know, when you deconstruct this three-dimensional box of, it really wasn't a box, it wasn't a cube, it was multi-shaped or whatever. What the, you know, if you were to lay this out flat, what would it look like? Or the inverse of that, they'd give you you know, this laid out you know, basically folding lines on a flat diagram, and say, okay, when you fold this up, what shape would it represent? I had an absolute freaking ball with that. And that's something I've always had a very, you know, a very good, I mean, you know, taking something and going, okay, how does this fit back together? You know, based on, you know, the design and you know, the you know, what logically can you reconstruct from what you have here, putting it back together. And so when you're looking at these geometric shapes, it all follows a very specific pattern that if you look at it, you know, I realize that some people don't get into that, but I tell you what, I love it. I think it's a kick in the pants. Go ahead, Paul.
You asked a question. I want to help answer it. I said, oh no, you might get smarter and might be able to fly advanced spacecraft. Oh no.
Me? Did I ask that or somebody asked that?
No, you asked the question, what might happen after you watch these? So I'm answering it.
Oh, that, yeah.
Can I answer that, please? Look what happened to me. You'll end up with all of this geometry on the wall. I'll send you a photo, hopefully today, but for the next show, definitely, and so that you can peruse each individual photo and the wall itself, and you'll be like, why would a normal person do this kind of thing? Because I'm not normal. And I went through this process of awakening, and it's taken me at least 5 years. And I'm well down the track. So if you want to have a bit of a fast track and understand how this all connects to the fun stuff, which is all the code, the comms. The comms is where QAnon meet, you know, the elite QAnon meet the whole storm. This is where it's at. This is where we've been able to ascertain that the Q proofs are what they are and that we're being messaged, and this is a military intelligence operation and that's connected to the president. And it's beautifully done, bypassing mainstream media, at the same time not violating national security laws. So it's totally brilliant. Like, this is biblical, like, let's face it. And it totally drills right down to, you know, of course, the code connected to the letters and the numbers and how it relates to geometry. And let's not forget about literature, books, colors, flowers, and their meanings. The lily of the valley is something that I wanted to bring up. So if people want to do a bit of research on lily of the valley and do your gematria research on that one and have a look at all of the stars that are posting, like Orlando Bloom with flowers, lily of the valley. Now, this is the Christ, the lily of the valley. And we also have the lily of the valley in Breaking Bad. And that was the flower that was used for the little kid that Heisenberg used. And, you know, apparently he thought that he'd been poisoned with ricin, but it ended up not being the case. It was, he'd apparently potentially eaten by mistake the lily of the valley, which is a white flowered plant. So if you want to do a bit of research on that and the symbolism of the lily of the valley, not just the gematria and the pharmacology and how you can get poison from it, but also how it means the Christ and all of the different celebrities that are messaging that. So that's something cool for people to have a look at.
Cool. I'm gonna, Paul, Vector, I need coffee. I'll be right back.
I just think this is just another tool in the toolbox that we should be able to use, that people need to be able to use, and it's a great tool. I could see it lighting up my children's eyes after they've watched it. And I was on another talk show for a bit, and this guy called in. He was called The Contractor. I don't know if anyone's heard of this dude, but and he actually gave the hosts some of these videos, and he said, put your 2-year-old daughter in front of it, and she will be speaking 6 languages, and, you know, doing amazing things before she's 10. That's what this sort of stuff is able to do, you know. And why not?
5 languages, Paul. I speak 5 languages. I speak 3 fluently and 2 well. So, I mean, you know, I know I have a background on, you know, I'm brought up in an ethnic house, but mastery of language, and there's all this comparison between all of the languages. That's the next thing. The next thing that I do is learn Chinese, like full Mandarin, Cantonese, and Japanese, because I want to see how all of those glyphs in Asian languages, which it's completely different, but I really get where they're coming from with that. And remembering the glyphs can be split like vertically on an axis, and and visualizing it, spinning it to the right if it's on the top, and then mirror that thing and it spins to the left. And that creates a certain toroidal energy field pattern for every glyph, creating a sound which changes reality. Remember, when you're spelling and you're doing gematria, this is why it's so important to them. It's your spell casting, whether you like it or you're not, whether it's dark or white. This is what they do. Words
the more I look, the interesting thing about the languages is the more I look around, the more symbology I see. But then all of a sudden I see Latin, and I'm like, wait a second, all of a sudden I'm looking for symbology everywhere, and I see the symbology, and then I see these hidden Latin words all over the place, and I'm like, okay, there's more to this, and I don't know Latin. I wish I did, and I wish I just, you know, took pictures of everything, but I don't carry.
Well, I'm putting it off. I want to learn this Latin because they learn this from very early on. And you think to yourself, why on earth would you need to learn something like this? Because the elite learn it, and they all go to the universities and they have their secret societies, you know, Alpha, Kappa, Beta, whatever. You know, these are all secret societies. They are, even the sororities. because there are female Masonic orders. Think about Yale. Think about the Skull and Bones. That's like the pinnacle of these organizations. But you have the Quill and Dagger, you've probably never ever heard of, and these kinds of things. You can go up and look up all these Masonic organizations that no one's heard of.
Now people realize why they were paying to make sure their offspring got into certain universities, because they wanted them to find out all this other information, and that's why there was a pay-per-play behind the scenes, because they wanted to make sure they got into these fraternities and sororities, so that
look at California, bro. Paul, do you remember the scandal that happened with the U.S. politicians, lawmakers in California, and they're getting into trouble because their children were cheating on tests to get into colleges in the United States? And there was a big stink about that. And they're like, all right, so they're dumb as dog shit, but they're getting into these Ivy League schools.
Right, because their parents were paying. Their parents were paying the universities off too. That's the problem. That's what came out in the end.
And look, I'm not for socialized medicine or education necessarily or anything like that, but it's shit like this that pisses people off when really really rich people have the opportunity to send their kids who are dumb as a bag of rocks to places like this, and there are anons online that are unlocking the secrets of the universe by themselves and don't have any opportunity to go to these places. So this is the injustice. Thank God for the internet. Thank God that there's some kind of free opportunity for us to listen to programs like this, whether you agree or you're not, whether we're 100% right or we're not. Well, it's certainly food for thought. We've made you think. We've shown you things that you may not have seen before. You're paying attention, and that's the point.
Oh yeah, someone in chat wants the links, and I know you put one of them, and they want the other links in the D Live
videos, Paul.
Yeah, they want those sacred geometry ones because they're awesome. I know. Thank you. That was one of the gifts Vector gave me a while back. I'm still appreciating them. So
yeah, they were very important. They were hard to find too. For some reason, they like you wouldn't think anyone would even care about stuff like that, but yeah, they do, and they're just like shadow banned by the looks of it online. And if you can find them, if you know exactly what the handle is of the user, but otherwise you can't find those. Can't find them anywhere. They don't exist. Pretty sure that's what you want. So there's 3 videos there, and I had some other ones as well.
I want to say to you, Victor, be your best, the tippy top of your game.
Always. Look, I go in cycles like everybody else. It's like the sine wave. So the ebb and flow. You'll find times where I'm tired like tonight, and I still know my stuff, but I'm stumbling a little bit, and that's okay. But there are other times where I'm on point and I'm a mental giant. Either way, this is all about the training, Paul. It's about doing things that are very difficult, and at first you don't even know why you're doing it in the first place, but you do it. And you understand that these are the very basics, the building blocks of life. We just had a look at how the platonic solids like begin from scratch and fold and unfold. It's a beautiful thing. Show that to your kids.
Wait, you said planetonic solids. Can you say that again?
The platonic solids. They're invented by Plato, and he knew there's only 5 solids. So we have the tetrahedron, the cube, icosahedron, dodecahedron, etc. So
okay, so wait, slow down. You got to say that again so everyone can hear it. Say it slower. The 5.
So if we're looking at the platonic solids, so if you want to do your DuckDuckGo so that you can have a look at them, and it's great to draw these. Don't worry about drawing them in perspective, but even if you just copy drawings of the platonic solids, there's 5. Now, and if you put them all around in a circle, like these 5 solids, like you need to add one in the center, which is the everything and the nothing all at once, or the void, and then you have another sphere. So that's a sphere, right? Then you have another sphere, which is the everything. It splits itself. and we have the tetrahedron. So we're having nature unfold itself into the most basic solids. Like, the tetrahedron is the smallest thing that can hold a volume. So you have the dot, you have another dot, and you create a line. You have a dot and a line. You have another dot, and you create those three lines. That creates a plane, a triangle. You create a fourth dot up above. That creates your trinity, your holy God there. That four-sided object, that tetrahedron, not the four-sided pyramid in Egypt, is your secret. That's your smallest building block. That's the smallest shape that can hold anything, any kind of volume. So that's your first platonic solid. And then you have a cube.
Hey, guys. Oh, it looks like we lost our YouTube channel. It might have got shut down. I don't know. But YouTube is currently down. And so everybody's going to have to move over either into Twitch or DLive, it appears. Because
oh no, we crossed the we crossed the light barrier, did we?
Well, it depends on how long it's been since Austin has reset his stream, because they only let a stream go for a certain period of time, and he's got 193 hours, 33 minutes, and 31 seconds. So it's been a while since he reset the stream. So he may have to reset the stream. That may be all it is. Okay. So, yeah, you can only go for a certain period of time. That's why we used to always reset every 24 hours. It just, because it broke it down in blocks that were easily managed. So anyway.
Vector, did you catch that little message I gave you on air?
No.
I said be your best. Be your best. Make sure you're at the tippy top of your game.
Of course, be best, tippy top, always.
I was like, oh, he's gonna catch it.
No, I was going on one of my angles here. Okay, so what we're talking about here, platonic solid, any of the 5 geometric solids whose faces are all identical, regular polygons meeting at the same 3-dimensional angles, also known as the 5 regular polyhedra. They consist of the 1 tetrahedron or pyramid, of course, a 3-sided pyramid, not 4, a cube, octahedron, the dodecahedron, and the icosahedron. Pythagoras, 580, 500 BC, roughly, probably knew the tetrahedron, cube, and dodecahedron. According to Euclid, 300 BC, the octahedron and icosahedron were first discussed by the Athenian mathematician Theaetetus. However, the entire group of regular polyhedra owes its popular name to the great Athenian philosopher Plato, 428-427 BC, whose dialogue Timaeus associated them with the 4 basic elements which we discussed earlier: fire, air, water, and earth, with the Christ being the 5th element, as portrayed in the movie The Fifth Element. Continuing on with the article, that he's supposed to form all matter through their combinations, Plato assigned the tetrahedron with its sharp points and edges to the element fire, the cube with its 4-square regularity to earth, and the other solids concocted from triangles, the octahedron and icosahedron, to air and water, respectively. The remaining dodecahedron with 12 pentagonal faces, Plato assigned to the heavens with its 12 constellations, again, the zodiac, pie and sky, the circle, because of Plato's systematic development of the theory of the universe based on the 5 regular polyhedra. They became known as the platonic solids. So,
some of you guys are watching the Comedy Channel. Turn it off.
I want to play a little video here that I just saw. It might shed a little light on some of this stuff. Bear with me a moment here. I want to bring this up because sonic geometry plays into this as well, and you'll notice how resonance and frequency and geometry all come together here.
All the same. And let's tie in the solfeggio frequencies as well. So maybe I'll post those solfeggio frequencies. Please continue.
By using fifths beginning from note number 1, he was eventually guided to note 27. And to find the same note twice as high in pitch, he simply kept doubling it to 54, 108, 216, 432, and so on up the scale. If you've ever heard of Pythagorean tuning, you know that the number 432 is quite important. To Pythagoras himself, it probably wouldn't have stood out more than any other in his numerical grid. But in our quest to find a universal language based on mathematics and frequency, this particular note represents a significant piece of coincidental evidence. You see, many ancient musical instruments, from Tibetan bowls to Native American flutes, happen to produce the same tone, a tone that vibrates at 432 cycles per second. That's compelling, but even more intriguing is the fact that Pythagoras was not calculating vibration cycles to find tone 432. It just happens to be the same number. What's more, for decades, most modern musical instruments were also tuned to this same fourth octave A, with a value of 432 cycles. How could this be? Who chose this particular note as the keystone for instrument tuning? And more importantly, why?
Keystone.
Here's where a deeper mystery begins to emerge. And to explore it, we will need to go back to Pythagoras' other passion, geometry. It is not an exaggeration to say that to Pythagoras and his disciples, geometry and math held a key to the nature of all life everywhere. And maybe it does. Let's look at the first 4 geometric shapes: the circle, triangle, square, and pentagon. In each of them are angles of degrees that, when added together, always total a specific number relative to that particular shape. For instance, if we take a triangle, the sum total of all 3 interior angles is always 180. For both the square and circle, it is 360. For a pentagon, it is 540. Now at this moment, let's step back and look at these numbers in a different way, as there seems to be something about them that reaches beyond a simple sum of angles. Did you notice that they happen to be in the same numerical neighborhood as tone 432? What's more, they all add up to 9, just like 432. As an experiment, let's take a look at the numbers found in basic geometric shapes, then apply those numbers as vibration cycles to hear the tones they produce. First, let's listen to what the 180 total degrees contained in a triangle sound like. And here's a squares and circles 360 in cycles per second. A perfect octave up from the triangle. What about the pentagon at 540? That sounds like a harmonic fifth of the other two. That's interesting. What are these tones? They are F sharp and its perfect harmonic fifth of C sharp. Let's keep going. What does a hexagon 720 sound like? Another F sharp. Here's a 7-sided septagon, which totals 900. This is an A sharp, which happens to be the note required to complete an F sharp major chord in perfect 3-part harmony. And finally, the octagon, where we get 1080, another C sharp. Suddenly, geometry is expressed by tones, and these tones just happen to create the most beautiful form of music, a perfect 3-part major chord in the key of F sharp. Is this something we've been missing for years? Is it important? To the famous philosopher and mathematician Plato, the answer would have been a resounding yes, for it is Plato who advanced the study of 2-dimensional geometry into 3-dimensional geometry, and who began to recognize that nature, whether expressed as a tone, the petal design of a flower, or the spiraling design of a seashell, seemed to follow a 3D mathematical pattern. In fact, it became an obsession of Plato to try and find the simplest 3-dimensional geometric shapes, and his quest ultimately revealed what we now call the Platonic solids. In essence, these forms represent the most elemental construction blocks found both in human-made and natural forms. So let's see if and how they fit into our geometry tone grid. First, there is the tetrahedron, or a three-sided pyramid comprised of 4 interlocking triangles. As we did before, let's add up all the angles found in those 4 triangles. The answer, 720, which we have already seen is the tone F sharp. Next, we have the cube, whose 6 360-degree squares totals 2160. What does it sound like? (2160) is a high C sharp, and as you will see later, a very interesting number for other reasons as well. Next up is the octahedron. Constructed of 8 triangles, this shape totals 1440, which is another perfect F sharp higher up the scale. The icosahedron is made up of 20 triangles, so the total number of degrees is 3600. As a tone, 3600 vibration cycles create the A sharp needed to complete yet another F sharp major chord that sounds like this. At this point, we have seen how 2- and 3-dimensional geometry can be expressed by the notes found in an F sharp major chord. Could this also be true with what is known as sacred geometry? To find out, we will first need to build a design called the germ of life, which, when repeated, goes on to reveal the seed of life, then flower of life pattern found at sacred sites all over the world. First, we start with a circle at 360 degrees, which is the familiar F sharp. We then add our second circle, bringing the total to 720, another F sharp. 3 circles totals 1080, which provides the harmonic fifth of C sharp. 4 circles is 1440, another F sharp. 5 circles totals 1800, or the A sharp needed to once again provide the harmonic third of an F sharp major chord. And finally the 6th circle, which brings the total to 2160, another C sharp. Amazing. It's as if we can now both see and hear the flower of life pattern that has intrigued humankind for thousands of years. So now we have 2-dimensional geometry, 3-dimensional geometry, and even sacred geometry being represented by different variations of an F sharp major chord. How is this not common knowledge? How have we missed this connection? There are actually 3 explanations. 1, for reasons ranging from the mundane to the conspiratorial, musical instruments are no longer tuned to an A vibrating at 432 cycles per second, but rather 440. 2, modern tuning calls for equal temperament, which no longer adheres to Pythagoras' whole number simplicity. And 3, the tuning method required to reveal geometric shapes is based on a mathematical grid rather than mathematical ratios. This grid, if it had a name, would probably be called something like factor 9, because the number 9 is found not only in the sum of every note on the grid, but also as the number required to move up or down the scale. For instance, if we started at note A at 216 cycles, all we would have to do is add or subtract the number 9 to reveal all the other tones in that octave. And it is here, on this incredible factor 9 grid, that we find not just some of our geometric numbers, but all of them. Conversely, modern A440 tuning reveals not one correlation to geometric numbers. Now let's go back for a moment and take a look at one of these numbers, 2160, the number expressed by both the cube and the germ of life pattern.
Hey, Thumper, can you stop
may have already noticed that without the 0, it is exactly half of our magic 432.
If you go back 30 seconds to where he showed all those numbers on the screen, I want to point something out. What I see, 1080, 720, 360, those are all the same numbers that they're programming your brain with a TV DPI, dots per inch, 540. 480 on there.
Because that's computer science, and that's how things are built. And that's all to do with the doubling sequence. That's why they do that, and that's why they are key numbers. And do you notice that every single one of those numbers, add them up, what do you get? 9, without exception. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. There are no.
If it doesn't add to 9, you don't get that harmonic resonance. This ties into the Rodin coil, the Assisian codes, and the root math with the language, all of it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're using they're using the dots per square inch to create a frequency in your brain too. So
correct.
You're real careful.
Yeah. Very interesting. Have a look at all those other ones like 440 that they've tuned everything to. That adds to 8, not 9. You look at here, 270, 2 and 7, 9, 540, 5 and 4, 9, 1080, 1 and 8, 9, 2160, 2 and 1 is 3 and 6 is 9, 144, 9, 2 and 2, like 8 and 8 is 16 and 2 is 18, 1 and 8 is 9. So we're getting 9 here no matter which way you want to slice and dice this. So this is your sweet spot here. And that ties into your magic squares too.
And 9 in the number codes, 9 is you have 369.
It's the master number. It rules everything else. Like cloud 9. Think about all the numbers and letters. Okay, but let's go the color. We're going A1 red, B2 orange, 3 C yellow, 4 etc. Okay, but when we're talking about we get up to 7 in the colors, and then we have black. Number 8 ball is always black, and number 9 is white, and that's cloud 9, and that's like where you've pushed above the firmament. So you have the creation 1 to 7, and then you have 8, the infinity, and the Taurus. It's the portal also going through to cloud 9. And then when it resets itself and goes back to 1, of course, we're just talking about another order of magnitude, which is how we represent the 0, but the 0 doesn't exist. So from everyone's perspective, it goes back from a root math back to 1. So we go back to 1, back to red, back to A.
Boggs Deep out here in chat, he just says, 9 is the same number you dial to reach an outside line in all corporate businesses in the U.S.
That's right. And when we have a look at like internet addresses, IP addresses, when they start, like you'll find that they add to 9. I'll add a little bit more information because I don't have it right.
I'll be right back. I have a barky dog at the back door. I got to let in.
That's okay. But there's a lot of computer code that you'll find that there's a reason why, like when you're dialing the World Wide Web, these numbers they add to 9. And I need to present them to you. I don't have them in front of me, but it's very interesting. All of these pieces of technology that they've built, and a lot of people have said, reality seems to mimic the internet and the same kind of technology coding that the internet's based on. No. What it is that the internet is emulating the way reality is built because we're living in a holographic matrix. It's like a massive, sophisticated holographic computer game, put it that way. And once you understand that, then you realize, just like any hologram, you have access to everything, the Akashic records. So if you were to cut a piece of a hologram off, you would still be able to see the entire picture in the small piece that you cut off, because every piece of information in the universe is contained in every other singular molecule, atom. It's all there. You're able to access it. You just need to be able to know how to do it. And the way to do that is through all this sacred geometry. And by the way, I'm a devout Christian, people that are listening out there. So I couple these techniques, learning about nature and geometry, with praying and being very close with the Holy Spirit and having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and Almighty God, and understanding the geometry of the Almighty. When we're talking about the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, we're talking about the Trinity there. You know, when they come together in the fourth point to create the tetrahedron, you have your Almighty. If you have a look in ancient texts and ancient Bibles and things like that, the Almighty God is represented by a tetrahedron. If you're looking at the pictures that they drew.
Oh no!
That's
did you move the screen, Thumper? Go back again for a second. One more second. I saw something else. Okay, so if you plugged in all these musical notes into Q posts, you will find there's a pattern. Q's use the music and the notes and bass 9 to tell us secret messages. I know you guys might not agree, but that's what's happened. I know Rector understands.
I think you're right. I think you're spot on the money. They're not stupid. They've looked at this upside down, inside out, up, like back to front. Like they're not. They know, because this is what the Satanists are doing to us. Remember that. It's called. There's an actual law here. It's called the law of reversal. Look it up. The law of reversal. This is the think mirror. This is going to be applied on so many levels. Esoterically, exoterically, when you exhaust all the exoteric analysis, objective analysis, that's when the subjective analysis needs to kick in. And when you're exhausting that particular line of thought, that's when you start to apply intuitive thinking. Objective, subjective, intuitive, the Trinity gives you the greater apperception of the conceptual.
Okay, I seen someone in chat was concerned about like us talking about numbers, but the thing is that they correlate to all this other stuff in our lives that Vector is talking about. The shapes are flowers, the shapes are music. So we're trying to show you that the numbers actually tie in to everything that's beautiful in your life. Okay. And that
the Bible's totally encoded, Paul, with all of this gematria. That's where it comes from. The Satanists have stolen it, but they didn't invent language. They didn't invent sound. They can't change the fact that the first letter of the alphabet is A and is fused to 1, and whatever colors. There's no getting out of this stuff. These are exoteric truths that hide esoteric truths, and you can hide this and slice and dice it all you want, but all they really need us to be able to do is to run the machines. They don't need us to be smart enough to do any of this sort of thing. That's why you learned it at school.
Boom.
That sounds horrible. I know. Here's what it is.
You're up, Thumper.
All right. Well, let's listen to a little bit more of this video here.
A440 tuning reveals not one correlation to geometric numbers. Now let's go back for a moment and take a look at one of these numbers, 2160, the number expressed by both the cube and the germ of life pattern. You may have already noticed that without the 0, it is exactly half of our magic 432. That's worth noting, but what is even more intriguing is the way this number keeps showing up in other large-scale measurements. To discover one of these measurements, we will need to jump forward from Plato's time to when the Mayan civilization was flourishing. Roughly 1,500 years ago, Mayan stargazers were the most accomplished astronomers the world had ever known. Their concept of cyclical time led to many incredible discoveries. The accurate length of a year, the exact dates of seasonal changes, even the moments when solar and lunar eclipses would occur. But their most amazing discovery was of something known as the precession of the equinox, which makes note of a very slow wobble of Earth's axis. Somehow aware of the fact that this wobble takes 25,920 years to complete, the Mayans called this cycle one great year, with each of its 12 great months requiring 2160 Earth years to complete. And what about this? Did you know that the diameter of our moon, when measured in miles, also happens to total? You guessed it, 2160. Lastly, watch what happens when we apply simple division to this highly synchronous number. 2160 divided by 2 is 1080, the angle sum of the octagon. By 3, 720, the total of the hexagon. By 4, 540, the pentagon. By 5, are you ready? It's the ketone of 432. And by 6, 360, the number of both the square and circle. All F sharps and C sharps with our 432A thrown into the mix as if it were some kind of clue to solving a cosmic riddle. Maybe we should look at this number even more closely. As we've stated, our closest celestial neighbor, the Moon, is 2160 miles across, and 216 is exactly half of 432. What about the other large object in our sky? Were you aware that our Sun is 864,000 miles across? Incredibly, where the Moon's base number sequence is half of 432, the Sun's number sequence is exactly twice 432. And do you know how many seconds there are in a day? 86,400, or 43,200 for the 12 hours of day and 43,200 for the 12 hours of night. Or try this. Take the 360 degrees found in the circular shape of our Sun and Moon, and then multiply it by the 12 hours of either day or night. The answer, 4320. Or how about this? What is the only whole number that, when squared, comes to within 0.01% accuracy to measuring the speed of light? 432. What is going on here? We have all these different things: Earth cycles, time and celestial measurements, geometry, sonic frequency, yet they are all represented by the same numbers over and over again. To answer that, we must search for the factor common to all of them, and that common factor is the 5,000-year-old Sumerian 1260 counting system. It is what gave us the inches to a foot, the seconds to a minute, and the 360 degrees in geometry. It's almost as if the sky god visitors, who the Sumerians called the Anunnaki, provided humanity with a counting system that would lead to the discovery of these synchronicities. Could it be that the number 432 really is some kind of cosmic key that unlocks a language of higher understanding? And if so, have these sky visitors ever been back to make sure we don't miss the importance of the 432 matrix? One possible answer can be found in the story of a man named George Van Tassel, a respected aeronautical engineer who believed he was contacted by extraterrestrial beings in the early 1950s. During this encounter, Van Tassel said he was provided with a mathematical formula that could be used for everything from time travel to sound frequency healing, and which he used to build the world-famous Integratron near Joshua Tree, California. What is this formula? It is F equals 1 over T, or frequency equals one particular something divided by the number of time. Well, what if that one something was the biggest one on our planet, the one great year of 25,920 discovered by the Mayans? And what if the number for time was the most logical choice of 60? Suddenly, this mysterious equation is expressed as frequency equals 25,920 divided by 60. Are you ready for the answer? It's 432. Not only the frequency that instruments all of the world have been tuned to for thousands of years, but also the number that reveals the synchronistic nature of life on this planet. Noticing all these coincidences revealed by the 432 matrix and the Sumerian counting system, we must wonder if other ancient cultures were aware of them as well. Just scratching the surface, it would seem that they were. For example, let's take the Sumerian 12 and square it for a total of 144. Right off, we see that it is indeed a number and tone contained within our factor 9 grid. Expanding outward, we find 1440, then 144,000, which is a number that appears all over the world in the most compelling of ways. Take, for instance, the Great Pyramid of Giza. It happens to have been covered with 144,000 smooth white casing stones. To ancient Mayans, 144,000 days was the length of their 394-year back tune, a time cycle which has just begun again. In the Bible, we read that there will be 144,000 chosen ones redeemed from the earth prior to the apocalypse. Obviously, number sequences like these have been significant to many different cultures and religious sects, and to one enigmatic group in particular, the Freemasons. Were the earliest Masons, the supposed keepers of sacred information, also aware of the factor 9 grid, the 432 key, and the number of...
I want to go back here just a teeny tiny bit there. Okay. And let's see here. Where was that? Here. Where was it that we? Oh! I know where it was. It was in the. Oh, for crying out loud! Where'd it go? No. What did I do to it? Where'd it go? Paul, Vector, you still there?
Yeah, I don't know what you're looking for though.
You guys step out for.
Yeah, I'm still here, bro.
All right. Okay. I just got to find that tab where I had that. Oh, for crying out loud! I didn't get rid of it.
Are you looking for the first article or the third?
The first one that we'll just open it up again here. Hang on. Let's see, that was the one that Vector sent. Let's see, let me open up your DM here. Or wait, you put that in the chat, right, Vector? Vector, hello.
Sorry, I'm here. I was talking. Sorry. Okay, so what am I looking at here that I missed?
He's asking you which article you sent. Oh, that one. That's the one you're looking for.
Okay,
sorry.
This is the one where here's the one where I said the Masonic symbol was there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And so let me go back to the video.
Hey, do these numbers on here, do they correlate to the numbers of the 144 and all those other numbers we were just looking at?
They will, but you've got to find the pattern. That's the thing. So I've just seen this, so I'll need to go and have a look at the new squares and apply that. So I'm going to apply that to what I know already with that Rodin Math Mod 9, which we know links to everything else perfectly. So it's going to fit in seamlessly. Then I'm going to link that into, like, look at that. So let's overlay that straight on.
And you know, when that 144 pops up, I'm still freaking out about post 144 and conspiracy ST. Every time I see that number, it just and then the other number that was in there was 1044, which is it's an important post number too. So anyway,
it's funny how 1044. Let's add 1 and 4 and 4 is 9. I don't know. You guys haven't seen this in the chat because I've been doing it here in Zoom chat. But I keep saying that all of this stuff adds to 9.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen it.
440 does not add to 9, but 432 does. All the solfeggio frequencies, they add the CCN codes, the root math of Rodin mathematics, that all links in. Then we also have 25920. If you add those numbers, it's 18. Again, 1 and 8 is 9. So you've got to have this perfection of 9 if you're going to complete the cycle, both of the physical and the non-physical. When we're looking at this big circle on the left here on the screen, we're manifesting what we're looking at on the top right there in both directions, but they've added other numbers here that I need a little bit more time to understand, and then I'll be able to understand how that links to the sound, the structure, the flow of energy, more importantly, but also the language.
If you look at the bottom, they've got the megahertz in the sine wave at the bottom too. That's and that was the same as the toroidal video that he showed number 2. If you can see it as a spiral, also you see it as a spiral and the DNA sequence in the spiral on its side.
You're looking at it as a sine wave, basically.
Yeah, but it's also the DNA spiral if you turned it sideways. You see it?
Yeah.
And then it's showing you at points in those overlaps where the frequencies lie inside them. So that goes back up to the top where I was looking at the down view and seeing the spiral coded information.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and watch Dan Winter's video on the structure of DNA, because that's his specialty. especially when you slice it and how it's an energy spurt, and you're looking at the dodecahedral structure of that. So overlay that over this. That's where you're really going to find where everything fits together. This person has a theory here clearly, and he's got some numbers here that I can't explain on the left-hand side in the large circle, and I'm sure it makes sense, but I need to check, because I've only literally found it in the last few hours, how this fits. So when I go through and I draw the geometry and I overlay the things that other people have done, that's where you find the answers. Because then you see the correlating points of energy, and you see the standardization. You know that energy should flow from here. It should go in this direction. It should go in that direction. This is the pattern that it makes. When we're talking about flow, we're probably talking about female.
Okay, I'm gonna have to cut it off here, because Rooster he's got his truck warmed up and he's ready to rock. And so we're going to have to say goodnight. Hey, I think we hit some really cool notes tonight. Har, har, har. That was a joke, guys. Anyway, fantastic information tonight. I think it was absolutely amazing, guys. Thank you so much, Paul and Vector. Great stuff. Great stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Thumper. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Paul. Have a great one. See you soon.
All right.
You too. Thank you.
Go to sleep. Recharge those batteries there, Vector.
Yeah,
the best is yet to come.
I had a bad night last night, and I had to do a lot of cleaning and gardening today. So I've been scrubbing with brooms and gurneying, doing all kinds of shit that I didn't want to do. But it's all beautifully clean now, so I'm getting ready for Christmas. And
sounds like fun.
The best is yet
amazing.
The best is yet to come. 5 talents.
All right, guys.
2 talents.
All right.
Love you guys. Bye.
You bet. You have a great evening. Love you back. Paul, thank you. And live chat, DLive, stream, YouTube, all you guys, love you. Have a great rest of the evening. And we're going to turn this thing back around and head back to our point of debarkation. And when we get there, make sure you collect all your gear and take it with you, because we sell it on the sidewalk if you leave it on board the TR3B. So and frankly, you guys bring lousy stuff. Its resale on it is terrible. So take it with you. Okay. You guys have a great evening. Thank you for joining us on Hyperdrive Monday night edition. We'll be back on Wednesday night. I'll see you in a few hours for some straight shooting. Good night, everyone. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Stick around because Rooster's got the old heavy hauler all warmed up, ready to go. And, how you doing tonight there, Rooster?
Hey, man, how we doing?
Doing great. Doing great. So,
Hey, did you catch that story I sent you? Check your gilded.
Which one?
Check your gilded.
Gilded. I haven't even had that open for this morning. I mean, I'm following D Live and Twitch and YouTube and Discord and Element and
Yeah.
oh wait, oh wow, that looks
That involves your state, buddy.
well, I'll tell you what, I don't know if you caught it earlier, but the campaign manager for Lauren Culp's campaign did a video tonight, and Chris and I played it, and the hammer's gonna fall. Did you put it in my server there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Should be in your general tab, I believe, where I put it.
Let's see here. Well, I'll tell you what. We are in Washington State here. The hammer's definitely going to come down on these assholes because they have gone. Inslee went way over the top, and it's the House of Cards is coming down, and I couldn't be happier.
No, yeah, they'll have to be dragged through the court again about these lockdowns and.
Let's see. I'm trying to. Let's see. So you put it in the Gilded.
Yeah, it's right above where Sunny Days posted.
Okay. There's my thing. There's General. Oh, there it is. Duh. Yeah. Okay. Breaking. Yeah. State laws are preempted by federal hours of service regulations, agency fines. So they're going to get their little butts handed to them from, the trucker folks.